Okay. Welcome to book club.
Sorry. I was trying to correspond with Pam.
Okay,
My bad.
that's okay.
Does anybody have a copy of the book?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Meryl, do you have a copy of the book?
Yay!
Somebody has a copy of the book.
Wait.
Was I not supposed to have a copy of the book?
No. Yeah.
So we were hoping you did.
There it
That's you.
Question mark?
What?
I actually didn't read the book. I got a copy
Oh,
from the library. No, I didn't read the book. I listened to the audiobook.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't finish it. Don't worry.
Eli got through about a sixth of it, and I was like, please don't let this be another one where I'm the only one who's read the whole book.
No, I did read the whole thing, but I did the audiobook. So I have the book because I got it from the library because sometimes I switch back and forth, but I just ended up doing mostly audiobook. So
I do that too.
You win everything today. You have a copy of the book, and you actually read it, so.
you know,
We're
try harder, guys. And I joined another book club, and I read that book too. So
Wow.
Look at you.
Yeah.
look at that.
Okay.
I'm like Jessica, except not like Jessica, because Jessica reads like 40 times more books than me.
I only read 6 books in the last month.
I only read like 6 books all year. It's fine.
Okay, so Meryl, since you read the book, what did you think of the book?
I liked it. I thought the narrative was interesting. I thought that, like, the choice of who narrated the book was interesting.
Do you mean the audiobook narrator specifically, or like the narrator that the...
No. Well.
Because Eli had to stop reading because of the audiobook narrator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Like his voice was not pleasing to my ears.
Oh, I didn't mind him. I thought he was all right. But
Okay. Narrator as written. What were you thinking?
as written, narrator. I thought it was an interesting choice. I kind of liked that a narrator was chosen rather than like being a
Third person?
Yeah. I really liked it. It took me a while to get into it, and I was kind of confused as to like what was happening. But I really liked that the book was focused on the older generation, like pretty much the entire time, with like the younger generation as like kind of like the side story. Yeah, it took me a while to understand the family dynamic, though. I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about. That's Cactus. Your turn.
No. From the part that you read, Eli?
It felt to me a little bit like Adam Bede, where it's one of those narratives where, you know, it takes a good third or so of the story, or 2/3 of the story, before you really like, okay, now I understand what's happening in the soap opera. Is what I felt like from the like 2 hours that I listened to. Like, I don't know what's going on, and I feel nothing for these characters right now. Get down. Ouch! No, get down. But I felt that way when I read Adam Bede too, the George Eliot that I had to teach.
I haven't read that. Yeah, I think you probably have to get a little bit into this one.
Yeah, it's definitely like halfway through before I cared.
Yeah. I mean that happens sometimes, and I think it's partially a function of the fact that it's a family story. You know, it's this family dealing with grief in the ways that they deal with grief, and looking at how a town changes over time, and how the people within the town change over that same period of time, which is not something I really find engaging as a reader. And I mean that's okay.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting that like it had a similar feel to me as like A Treat Grows in Brooklyn or Olive Kitteridge in terms of the town and like discussing like the dynamics of the town. But it was because it was in narrative form, I felt like it was more. It was like a combination of like a narrative and like a character-driven book.
Yeah. So I nominated this one. This I would say was one of my favorite books. I maybe was a more critical reader this time around.
Yeah, I saw you posted that.
Yeah. So the thing, I mean, I still really love I mostly love the characters. Just the way, especially the Grandpa Blakely and Love Simpson, and how they basically don't care what anybody thinks about what they want to do with their lives. I like that a lot. And then I liked the first time I read it, especially. I liked kind of just getting a sense of what it was like to be in a small town at the turn of the century, and what it was like to have the first automobile in town, to have a argument over whether you wanted a bathroom in your house. Those kind of elements I found really interesting. I would say that I don't think I really realized until I reread it how much of it was trying to just get us inside the head of a 14-year-old boy. There's a lot where he's just imagining making out with the girl from Milltown and just reflecting on what that was like to be a teenager, basically. And I was what's that?
I love Lightfoot. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I really like the characters. I think that's probably my favorite part of the book. Is the different characters, and it did even take me a little bit to get into it this time, because I couldn't remember what it was that really drove the plot until farther into it, and then more and more things started happening, and there's people killing themselves and unexpected things that I didn't even remember happening from the first time I read it. So yeah, I still like it. I think there were some things that I definitely didn't catch the first time around, like when he talks about how his friend was offering to molest his younger sister so he could teach him about sex. So I was like, whoa! What? Why is this in here? What? No.
Wow.
I didn't remember that. So it was just a throwaway line, which is probably why I missed it the first time. But I was like, I don't understand why this needs to be in here, except that, again, it's trying to, I guess, capture what it's like to be a teenage boy. But yeah, that was disturbing. So stuff like that. I didn't quite catch the first time around, but I still.
How old is he supposed to be throughout the story? Do you know?
14.
14. The whole time.
I don't know how long the span from the beginning to the end is, but he's 14 at the beginning, I think.
He's writing it as a young adult,
22.
Yeah,
is it 8 years?
Okay.
I think yeah. So yeah, I think his voice maybe sounded a little bit young for 14 to me, especially for supposedly writing it as an adult or as a 22-year-old. But I don't know. It wasn't that far off that it was too jarring for me.
So Pam is not coming? Just FYI.
Okay. Meryl, these are discussions.
Hang on, I have to find the sad cactus sticker. Where's the cactus? How did I do that before? Continue talking. I'll find it while you're talking.
Oh, I love it.
I don't think I can find a cactus, but I can find this one.
No, I feel it's another thing.
See, what I love about this is anybody who is like watching us at any given point, they're like, what are they doing? Meryl's posting on our Facebook page.
You can see the Facebook page.
Wait. I can.
It's a
There it
little
Madness.
sadness bawling
Dying.
sticker. Anyway,
That's a great movie, by the way.
good questions. Oh, thank goodness. It's like, what do I talk about? People who write questions, help me.
So some of these questions ask about Rucker, Grandpa Blakesley, and how we should judge him. Miss Love Simpson, 3 weeks after his wife dies, which is, I think, an interesting question.
Wait, which set of questions are you on?
Well, the first one on the lit lovers.
Okay.
You consider him a shallow human being. What possessed them to marry Miss Love so soon after burying?
I think that was like almost like a cat. I mean, I don't think I would do what he did, but like he just seems like a very matter of fact person. Like a very like he owns a shop. He like like has this set up for his family. He's not like an emotional person, it seems, for most of the novel. And I think not so much that he's shallow, but like he's just a no fuss type of person. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and this is practical for me. I'm an old man, and this is what I need. How do I get it?
Yeah,
the marriage of convenience.
Well, so here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
So he justifies getting married by saying that he needs a housekeeper and it's cheaper to have a wife, right?
Right.
But then you find out about, what, 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the novel, that he has been in love with Love Simpson since the moment he met her. And it didn't mean that he didn't love his wife, but it was sort of a ruse to get her to marry him, to say that he didn't need a housekeeper and she could have the house. And so the question then is, do you judge him differently knowing that he really did love her when he married her? Like, does that make it worse or better?
I don't really think it does, though, because he didn't really, like, he presented it as it was, and, like, while, like, eventually, like, things do happen physically between them and emotionally between them, I think, like, in the beginning, he didn't pressure her to do that. Like, he just let time take its course.
Your audio just cut out. I missed the last part of what you said. Sorry.
I think, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I think he, like, kind of let time take its course. Like, he didn't really pressure her into, like, a romance or any sort of physical relationship because they were married. Like, if she just wanted to be his housekeeper, I think he would have gone on like that.
That's true. I think he justified it to the rest of his family and to the town that he didn't have any feelings for her, and that was clearly a lie.
Yeah, that's true.
But
how much of that was trying to avoid, like, scandal?
Right.
It seems like gossip and prejudice ran rampant in the town.
Well, it's an interesting question to think about, because, like, my first thought is, well, this is like this small town in the early 1900s where you have to, like, wear black for a year, and they have very specific mourning rituals, and he's flouting all those. But I still think the same thing would apply today if somebody's wife died and they got married 3 weeks later. Like, there would still be a lot of gossip and judgment. And would it matter if, it was a marriage of convenience or a marriage of love? I mean, I think people are naturally gonna, if they say, yes, I've always been in love with this person, now I can marry them, they're gonna assume that you were done with your previous spouse a long time ago.
Which, like, just the idea is that you cannot love more than one person at a time. Which, in like the grand scheme of things, I think is not not necessarily the case.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the novel is arguing that that's not necessarily the case. That he loved both of these women in different ways and could love them both at the same time, and that didn't lessen his love for his wife to also love somebody else. Which I don't know if everyone would.
I think like it was a combined though. I don't know. Like I think that with the marriage itself, it was a marriage of convenience in terms of timing. But when it comes to like emotionally, like he didn't do anything before Milo died. He didn't do he waited till after she died. He said it was a marriage of convenience, not just like because he's made it clear multiple times throughout the book he doesn't really care what anyone else says about him. So the fact that he's like saying that for everyone else, I feel like is more the case. That like he's saying this is a marriage of convenience for his daughters and for Will and for like everyone involved because he doesn't want the town gossiping because he knows that they care.
So it's to save their reputation, not because he cares what they say about him.
Yeah, I would think so. And at the same time, it's convenient. So like, why wait? He's an old guy, like to have something that's convenient. But then like he also doesn't pressure.
Yeah, but he says he would have waited if he didn't think she was going to run off and marry Sun Black. That was the only reason he rushed things because he thought he had to snatch her up.
Yeah, that's
not be the case. And then he was like, "Oh, I could have waited and not caused this whole drama."
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm really jaded because I don't really I kind of admire him for just like getting on with it.
Yeah. Well, no, I do too. I mean, I like that about him in all things, and her too. Love Simpson. That she just kind of holds her head up and does what she wants.
I mean, it's kind of nice that she, and I don't know if this is convenient for the author, but that like she's from out of town as well. It's like not as much of she doesn't have anyone to like prove herself to other than the town as a whole. So it's not like she's letting down any family or like you don't see her family's perspective because she doesn't have any. So it's really one family, one town.
Yeah, but I think you've identified the issue that it's very intentional that she's from out of town because she does have something like she wins or loses the entire town. Like she doesn't have any family loyalty to rely on. Her, if she burns the whole town, she has no one, and all she ever wants is to have a family and a house. So it's, yeah, I think that was very intentional to make her an outsider who was risking more than she let on by kind of defying propriety.
I'm
not trying to like argue with you. Just everything you said.
I'm not arguing. Another question. I feel like I agree a lot. I just have nothing to add. I think it is intentional, but I also think it's like convenient in some ways because you don't have that extra perspective of like what her family would do or that dynamic.
Well, yeah, I think it's harder to like it's harder to grow up in a this is the way it is, and then be that outspoken person.
Yeah. I,
Do you think that once she becomes part of the Blakesley family or the Tweedy family, do you think that she cares then about what they think of her?
I think she only really cares what Will thinks. But she knows that if she has Will on her side, everyone else will side with her.
What Will or Rucker thinks?
Will. Like, I think Rucker, but I think she's already won over Rucker. So in terms of, like, the greater family.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, and how much of that has to do with the fact that the story is told from Will's perspective?
And there are multiple times in the book where people reference that he's Rucker's favorite because he's the boy. You know, like he was the son he never had. Like, he's the one who's going on the trips with them. He's the one who Miss Love, like, talks to the most. He's the one who, I mean, maybe from narrator's perspective, but sounds like the only one who even was, like, curious. And maybe that's a tribute to the fact that he's a teenage boy. And she's the younger woman, but...
Yeah, clearly he's very interested in his stepbrother.
Yeah, I read that. I read a couple of synopses, and it's like, oh yeah, okay.
I think that makes him more believable in a way, though, because, like, he doesn't really talk about girls at all, except for Lightfoot briefly and Miss Love. And it's such a small town. Like, during puberty, boys think about those things, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
To project what I've heard.
Yeah, I think that's, kind of going back to what I was saying about a lot of it is just, like, getting inside the head of a 14-year-old boy. That was the part I, like, didn't care about as much. He's, like, talking about, like, trying to get out of his chores to go fishing and, like, which of his friends he can get to go fishing with him and, like, arranging this camping trip with them. And I was like, this is so boring. I don't care. But it's like you teenage boy, and this is what you care about, and like what your friends think of your exploits or whatever.
Yeah. I don't love the book. I feel like maybe this is similar to like Olive Kitteridge. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more as like a series of short stories or like a novella more than like as long as it was.
Yeah.
I think I could have gotten a lot of what I liked out of it out of a shorter book.
Start where the action is.
Start when Miss Love and Rucker. No, I mean, what action?
Well, where things happen. I think part of my challenge was as I would listen to it in bits and pieces. It's like, okay, wait a minute. It was at the beginning is not entirely linear.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of flashbacks, yeah.
And that for me as a listener was confusing. In addition to my narrator issues.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, you do have to kind of pick up on when he's going back in time to talk about something that happened previously. Or else it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to go back and listen to a couple of pieces more than once. Like, I don't know when we are right now.
Right. Yeah.
I usually listen to audiobooks on really fast speed, and I definitely had to listen to it on, like, original speed for a while.
Okay, so tell me about how that works for you, because I have a lot of students who try to do that, and I'm like, I like natural speaking speed. When I listen to audiobooks, it feels like I'm being told a story as opposed to, like, to me, putting it on faster speeds feels like, okay, I'm trying to get this done.
I mean, half the time I am trying to get it done.
Okay.
But I listen to my podcast that way too. I think I talk really quickly, and I think really quickly. So like if I'm being told the story in narrative, like I have to like focus more on it in order to understand it, because otherwise I'll like fidget or get distracted really easily. So if it's going faster, my mind has to focus more on what's being said. So I think that helps. But I usually listen to it on like 1.5 or 2 at the most. There have only been a few that I've gone like over 2.
Okay. I was just curious because other people have done it, and my students are just trying to get it done, and I think
Yeah.
they lose comprehension when they turn the speed up.
Mm. I'm mostly
I like it at like
What's that?
I like it at like 1.5. And a lot of the times I'll start by reading and switch to audiobook too. So I like get the setting and the characters, and then once I'm like more invested, I'll switch to the audiobook so I can do it while I like drive or.
It's interesting because I go the other way. I'll start with the listening and then go to the book.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I don't tend to switch formats, but I do listen to everything. Like I listen to all podcasts at 1.5 speed, and I listen to books. I usually start at 1.25, and then I might go up to 1.5 if it's not. Because like right now I'm listening to People's History of the United States, and I couldn't do that any faster because
Yeah.
there's a lot of like quotes, and you gotta. Yeah, it would be too fast. I think any faster, but some stuff if the narrator doesn't speak that quickly to begin with, like I can definitely put it at 1.5, and then if I go back to 1, it just seems too slow to me. I'm like, hurry up! I want to know what happens. Like, just keep going. Like, it doesn't need to be that slow.
It's especially with like older voiced narrators, I feel like it's really slow when they're trying to like get the setting.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Good conversation. I think I might write about it.
the example I always use with podcasts, why I listen to them quickly. So like with podcasts that are like news that have like a lot of foreign accents, I'll slow down. But with like things like Diane Rehm, I'll slow it or like speed it up to like 2 points because she talks like this, and I don't care. Which is hard when she interviews someone because it's like I have to keep switching back and forth.
Yeah, I figure if I can absorb the same amount of content and learn the same amount of things in less time, like why not do that?
That
If
makes
I'm
sense to me.
missing things,
Yeah.
if it's in my comprehension, then I'm gonna slow it down. But if it's not, then why not go faster?
Yeah.
More questions? Off the book. This is that it's generally viewed as a coming of age story, which I find weird. I don't.
I didn't really think of it like that. To like,
You do or you don't.
I don't really. I thought. I mean, I guess this goes with what I said in the beginning. Like, I feel like it's more of a story of like old age and like the dynamics of a town with a side story of coming of age.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of the way that like romance is sometimes looked into things when it's like not at all about the romance.
Right. Yeah, I think that he maybe learns. I don't know that that necessarily equals coming of age, just because like you learn about people can kill themselves and people can love other people while they're married to someone. Like, maybe I don't know. I feel
I think it's just like
there has
commentary
to
on
be like
humanity.
what's that?
What if it's a coming of age of the town?
Well, I was gonna say I think that's actually probably more accurate than the coming of age of the narrator.
Because when the town was founded, there were a bunch of sassafras trees, and then all of them but one were cut down to put in the railroad. And then toward the end of the story, as I understand it, they had to cut that one last tree down. So they're
They're changing
moving away from the heritage of their town.
exactly. Yeah. They go from having no cars to one car and then another car, and then they're selling cars and kind of forcibly ushering in the new century. So in that way, yeah, I think definitely it's coming of age of the town, in both in the sense of technology and coming of age into the new century, and in terms of learning that they can deal with people breaking social norms and get over it. I'm trying to think of what is Loma's husband's name?
Loma's cousin?
Husband. He kills himself.
Oh,
Camp.
Cam.
What is it?
Campbell.
Campbell. That's right. Camp. Yeah. The fact that Grandma Blakesley insists on having a formal funeral for him is disruptive to the town, because that's not how you treat someone who kills themselves, and that is another way that he disrupts social norms in, I think, a very positive way. And another thing that they learn that they can get over.
I don't know why it switched to me. And then it switched to Meryl. And I don't know what I did. I was putzing with things, and now I think I might have messed it up.
Here's a related question. Look at the questions. Were you guys making faces at me?
The chat box.
So I poked something and I messed with the cameras, and now I have to control it manually.
No.
Oops.
Wow.
I think we should discuss number 9, and I think that Eli should start.
So the question is, what do you think of Burns' use of dialect? Does it enhance the novel's sense of place for you, or do you find it distracting and irritating? Can you guess where I'm going with this one?
So it's an interesting question though, because the way it's written, the narrator doesn't write in any sort of dialect. He writes very standard English. He just writes characters who he writes out the way that they actually speak to people in his life. But if the audiobook narrator has his standard voice using some sort of southern dialect, that would be a little too much, I would think.
I think what the whole purpose behind the use of dialect was to show class distinctions. So you've got the people in the town, and you've got the people in Milltown, and you've got Miss Love, who comes from the north. She's a Yankee, and had somebody who wanted her to have better elocution. And so when the dialect is used throughout the conversations, and that's not the only example, so we have Queenie too, which that did bug me a lot. That it's to show these distinctions between characters' positions in society of Cold Sassy.
I liked it.
Okay, why?
I think I would have believed it, well, at least in the audiobook. I don't think I would have believed it in the same way that like Jessica was saying. Like it's hard. Like if he had flipped back and forth through like a Yankee accent versus like a Southern accent, I think that I wouldn't have believed him as much. I'd been like, wait, who's talking? Because then like when he switches into when he's conversing with people, then like I feel like that would be confusing for him to be like explaining and then switching to his like conversation voice and then switching back. And I think in writing, like that would be less distracting. But I feel like in the audiobook, it makes sense because he's the narrator.
Yeah. No, I can hear that.
But I see, like why it could be annoying, especially if like you're not used to like heavy Southern accents.
And I think that was part of my problem, because I'm not used to that Southern accent. It's one of those places where, you know what? It's one of those places where I have to check. I actively check my prejudice, because it's like you've been enculturated with the ideas that this accent means not as intelligent, which I know is not the case. You know,
Right.
I have friends who have Southern accents who are very intelligent. Yes, that was intentional. But it's so yeah, like, but I still struggled with the listening for pleasure and with this particular accent.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts about Queenie, because so yeah, I don't have necessarily not coming to a place where I can really comment on this very well, but I remember that there was a big controversy about the way that The Help was written, because only the black characters spoke in dialect and none of the white characters did. In this book, most of the characters speak in some sort of dialect. So I'm interested to know what you felt was problematic about Queenie specifically.
It didn't really. It's not problematic. Really, it's just I felt my hackles go up automatically.
Yeah.
So it was a visceral reaction, not a critical reaction. Is really what that was.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually, so obviously, again, I'm not coming from the same place, but I had almost a similar reaction where I remember, like I said, I remember the thing about The Help, and so when I read that, I had this immediate reaction where I was like, oh no, like that's a problem, and then I was like, okay, wait, what is problematic about this? And then I was like, would it be disingenuous to write this character a different way? And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna keep going with this. You know, maybe that was just like a visceral reaction. So I don't know. I think I did feel like the author made kind of what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like, she kind of made a nod at the fact that there were issues with the way that the black house servants were treated when she had Love talk about, like, oh, you know why she drinks out of the mason jar, right? Like, she's not allowed to drink out of your family's dishes. But that was the only discussion ever, really, about the black characters in the novel. And I don't know if I would have rather that she just didn't even bring that up, because then she didn't really go anywhere with that and didn't mention it again. And, like, it's almost like, okay, I've dealt with this, now I can have, okay, because one character mentioned the way that they were treated. I don't know. I'm not speaking very intelligently to this, but Um, yeah, I don't know if I wish that she had delved more into those characters or not had them at all or what. But
Well, we didn't be able to remember the narrator. And it may not have been something that really registered on the narrator's consciousness, you know. So that it wasn't more articulated than it was makes sense for the narrator, because 14-year-old boys don't know shit.
I think it's also a commentary of like seen but not heard. Like there's a comment on it, but it's not like discussed. It's just like, oh, this is a thought that we like once had, but like we're not going to think about it too hard because that'll change too many things. So you could see it as like a way that the town approaches it too. Like, oh, don't rattle like the cage, don't shake how things have been done because this is just how it is and this is how we view it. And like you could think about it for a second, but like don't think too long and hard because it'll, you know, change the dynamic of everything.
yeah.
Kind of like similar to like, I guess what they say, like children like seen but not heard. Yeah, like.
Yeah, my question for myself, I guess, is should I be more critical of the author for challenging so many of the town's social norms in the course of the story, except for that, to only give it a passing mention. That's the word I was thinking of, passing.
I almost think though that like to not include African Americans in the book would be dishonest, but like to focus on that would be like a whole nother storyline.
Yeah.
Or it's not satisfactory in a way. Unless you have like the token character, which I guess is supposed to be Queenie, but
Well, I would argue that Loomis is, if there's a token character, Loomis is the token character because he like shows up to save Will from the train and like carry the dead body of the graveyard or something, I can't remember. And like sings his Negro spirituals at the funeral, which is
another thing.
a token character. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Anything else on that? Anything else you want to discuss?
How did I get that cactus there? No.
So there's an interesting question in the second set of questions about how do you think we are supposed to feel about the modernization of Cold Sassy? Overall, is it a change for better or worse?
I think negative from the, like I think we're supposed to feel negative about it.
Yeah.
Because I think you learn through the novel, or I did anyway, that like the complexity of Rutger as a like dynamic character and like I guess understanding him as like a stronghold in the family and a complex person who is XYZ, and then basically I was like, over my dead body will they change the name from Cold Sassy? And it was like, well, he really meant that because like soon after he died, that's exactly what happened, and they cut this down and like everything changed. But like he's one of the main characters in the novel, and like his death is so traumatic to all of the characters that like I think if you, I guess, feel for any of the characters, you're affected by his death, and so like in that respect, I think you're supposed to feel negatively about it. And they even have that whole conversation about how like Cold Sassy is a better town. It describes the town, and like changing it to Commerce is just like another town that lost its beauty type of a thing. So I think we're supposed to feel negative about it.
Oh, you know what I didn't do?
What?
Read the book.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I would all of your talking, and I forgot to switch the camera because I forgot that I was controlling the cameras.
That's all right.
I'm still switching depending on who talks, except that I never see myself. But
yeah, but because I'm signed in on the NFOBC profile, it It actually requires that I hit the button like that.
Okay.
Oops.
I wonder if like what you're saying, that he was such a figurehead that we're almost supposed to see his death as marking the end of the era. Like he was,
Yeah.
in some ways, the last holdout in terms of like getting a bathroom and stuff, and he kind of represented like the old days of the town, and like there were clearly good things about that. Like there were good things, but then he himself was also disrupting some of what made the town, old-fashioned, I guess. So I think it is an end of an era, but I don't know that that's fully negative, because I think he's portrayed in some ways as being kind of stuck in his ways past the point of reasonableness. Yeah.
He's also the one who stands up to, I mean, maybe for selfish means, but for like the gossip and the small town, the prejudice of the small town, though. So you can see like kind of I see exactly what you're saying, but then I have a hard time reconciling like him just being like, to hell with it, like this is what I'm gonna do and this is how I'm gonna do it.
Right. Well, yeah,
Plus the automobiles are like a new thing that. So.
Yeah, but he kind of, he changes in some ways. Like because he originally is like kind of over my dead body. I would never get a car. Like, why do you need one of those things? And then he just like Love Simpson kind of changes him to see things from a more business perspective, and then suddenly he is at the forefront of ushering in that aspect of modernization. But whether that's positive or negative, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that I think in some ways she's shown as overcoming his stubbornness, but in other ways she is maybe pushing her Yankee ways on the town too much.
Yeah, I don't know how to like analyze that really. I think it's an interesting thought. So.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts, Jessica, specifically about the presence of Christianity in the novel.
I did not remember that it was as preachy as it was when I was rereading it, and I was like, wow, there's a lot in here. Like, people go on long sermons about God, and I thought it was a little heavy-handed. I thought it was pretty clearly preaching a very specific theology, which I don't necessarily disagree with on a personal level. But it was like, let me give this character several pages to expound on this theology of suffering and prayer. And that was really heavy-handed. I don't know. What do you think?
I actually didn't think it was that. I do not identify as Christian, so I feel like in that respect, like a lot of the things that I read now, like I guess like I grew up that like in Christianity, and I grew up with those beliefs, and I don't find it offensive, but more cultural, that it's there. And I feel like I lived in Appalachia for a while, and I've like been to the South, and I have friends who have Southern accents. But I think like it's a very cultural thing. Like I think in smaller towns, even in the Midwest where I'm from, like it's a very prevalent thing that people just assume that you agree with that to some regard, and I think you can on a like I guess like ethical as well as moral level, as well as like religious or non-religious, to if you like change some of the words, I guess. So I thought it was interesting that it was there and it was kind of preachy, but I felt like it was also another testament to how the town was. And so in that respect, almost necessary. Maybe not at such lengths, but I thought it was almost like a necessary part to understand, I guess, how people were dealing with everything that was going on.
You know, I wonder if the kind of sermonizing was intentional to offset what seemed to be a very negative view of religion otherwise, because
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of it kind of fell in step with some of the mores of the town in terms of like how you treat someone who's killed themselves, or that the church is the center of gossip and who is in and out, and the scandal it causes if you don't go to church when you're expected to, or you go to church after you've been part of a scandal, or you dare to wear a certain thing to church.
Or you're removed from the piano playing position at the church.
Right, exactly. So all of that was very tied in with the social norms of the town, and I wonder if she was trying to intentionally counteract that by saying, no, it's just this specific type of religion that I am criticizing. I'm not criticizing faith in God. I think that this other kind of faith in God is just better.
Yeah.
This controlling the camera thing is something else.
Anything else you guys want to say? My computer's about to die.
No. That's all I got.
I'm also good. We are reading... Oops, wait. There. We are reading Extremely Loud and Incredibly Ghost next. Meryl.
You set me up for that tie thing, and I was like, no. No, I'm not going to pander to you.
You took too long to get there.
What?
You took too long.
I know. I wasn't sure. I liked 3 of them.
Might I point out that there are only 3 on the list?
There were 4.
Selection. No, there are 3.
Oh, maybe I like 2 of them. Hang on. I thought there were 4.
No, because when we went to conversation every other month, we only select books one book at a time instead of
There are
doing
4
2
listed
like we
there
used to.
now. Oh, because you can add an option.
Did somebody add an option?
Someone added an option.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I will turn that off next time.
Please.
You can also mark. Ooh, you can also mark multiple ones. I should have just marked every single one. I shouldn't have said that because now you're gonna change that too.
I don't think I can change that. One of the words that my students learned this week was exasperated.
Ooh. Word.
Yes, it is.
I've heard it a lot.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
You exasperate me.
Okay, I'm gonna end the broadcast now.
Bye, broadcast.